Hey everyone, and this is Michael. Welcome to the LoveWorks Dreamer and Doer podcast. It's at LoveWorks where we believe that you are never too young to be a dreamer and you are never too old to get started working on your dream. And just here on the front end of things, I want to remind you, wherever you happen to watch or listen to our podcast, it could be on YouTube, iTunes, on Apple, Spotify, or SoundCloud, but we would love for you to do just a couple of things if you wouldn't mind. One, subscribe to our podcast. And secondly, if you could leave any kind of star that you want, a 1-star, a 5-star. We just want to create the best podcast we possibly can to be able to see students really live into their dreams. And we would love for you also to leave a review, Carolyn, kind of like this one. And this is a great review of our podcast. And it says that our podcast is encouraging and has applicable life lessons for anyone, no matter the age. I love that. I love getting to have the podcast that I can talk to my middle schoolers about, and they actually like it too. How about that? That's a win-win.
Hey, that's a really good feedback. If a parent likes it and also the middle school students like it, that must mean we're doing something right. I don't know.
No question at all. So yeah, our feedback, we absolutely love it, so we can reach as many students as we possibly can around the world.
That's right. And our hope with Dreamers and Doers is that each week our podcast is going to have a special guest that's going to connect with you wherever you find yourself today. And they're going to inspire you to become the best version of yourself for tomorrow.
And one of the ways that we've discovered that each of our guests, in their unique way, become the best version of themselves is through personal growth. And we really believe at LoveWorks that in personal growth, you can have absolute blast, especially when you find what really works and connects with your heart. And so each week, we like to curate different things like music, blogs, other podcasts, people to follow, organizations that you should know about. And Carolyn, I thought it would be fun today if we had our students, our listeners, and our watchers kind of eavesdrop and have you and I have a conversation about a particular tool, personal growth tool that we call Rise Up, that's part of our everyday programming here at LoveWorks.
It is. So if they are an after-school student, they definitely know this routine by heart. But it's a 6-part routine that we encourage our students to actually begin their day with. And it's called Rise Up. And there's 6 different things. And you can do these things at really any amount of time that you want to. But what we do here at LoveWorks is we spend a minute per each of these sections. And so the first one always starts with quiet my heart. And this is a time for us to really just be quiet. And so there's no speaking, but rather it's a time for meditation, for prayer, and that lasts for 60 seconds. Then we move on to talk my truth. And this is a time for affirmations. And so we usually pick a few statements that maybe our students are struggling with, or we really just want them to know about themselves. And so we pick some affirmations and we say them through twice. We've got See My Win, which is a time of visualization. And we know sometimes that, pursuing your dream can be hard if you don't know what it looks like. And so it's a chance for them to actually just imagine, what is my big dream? The next part is usually one of the favorites. It's called Move My Body. And so it's 60 seconds of total cardio action time. And we like to do silly things with that, from high-fiving to hopping and visible hula hooping, but lots of fun. Read to Lead is a chance for us to read either a short story or a quote from a particular inspiring person. And so we've got some words there, believing, of course, leaders are readers. And then the very last part, this is a personal favorite. It's called Scribble Time. And Scribble Time is where you have 60 seconds, you got pen, paper, and you can doodle, write, draw, anything that you want. In fact, Michael, it was really sweet. A student the other week, he actually wrote his mom a note, and it was really, really cute for 60 seconds. And but anyway, the actual routine itself is really just to prep you for the day, prepare your mind, prepare your heart, and prepare your body so that you can really go about your day being the most effective that you can, because these are the affirmations I'm walking into the day with. These are the goals that I have in seeing my win. I've already got my blood pumping up to my heart, to my brain. I'm ready to go. And so it's a really fun routine. And Michael, do you want to practice one right now?
Well, if you wouldn't mind, and that's what I really like about this, is again, it could be done in 1 minute soundbite or 6 minutes. That's all it takes. And we know that today's Dreamer and Doer guest is no stranger to practice. So let's do one. Could you walk me through Talk My Truth?
Yes. Okay. So for Talk My Truth, when I pick my affirmations, I usually choose some things that maybe I feel like I don't believe about myself, but I want to become this person. And so it's really just saying these statements. And, maybe you don't necessarily believe them about yourself yet, but the more you say them, the more you believe them, the more you'll live them out. And so the very first one, we like to say them out loud and then repeat them and say it like we truly mean it. Okay. So, Michael, you can insert any word you want here, but my first one is I am beautiful.
I am handsome.
You got it. Okay. The next one is I can and will conquer challenges.
I can and will conquer challenges.
And I take time to make others feel loved.
I take the time to make others feel loved.
So the thing about these statements is when we say them again and again and again, they honestly will pop up in your brain. I think particularly when you get challenged, right? So when that time when you start feeling really insecure, but you remember that moment in the morning when you said to yourself, no, I am beautiful, to that time where you feel like I don't have any time to even talk to this person in the store right now. And you remember, wait, no, I take the time to make others feel loved. So what can I do right then in that moment? And so that's why I love affirmations. I think they're really powerful and strong, and they can do more than you know. People think they're just words, but I think it's really just speaking into who you're supposed to be.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Carolyn. I hope it encouraged you that are listening. And who knows, maybe you'll use part of this or customize something that's going to work for you so you can continue to grow in your personal growth. That is awesome. Well, Dreamers and Doers, we're going to transition into our interview, but we always like to remind you the vision behind our podcast. And so here's our format. Each week we have the opportunity to sit down with a different guest, a dreamer and a doer, and have the opportunity first to be able to hear part of their dream story. And we take some time to learn about what were some of those early steps that our dreamer and doer guests took to begin to work towards their goal and towards their dream. And we also love to hear about some of the challenges or perhaps obstacles that they encountered along the way, and hope that it's going to encourage you to get from the place you are today to the place that you desire to get to tomorrow. And so, dreamers and doers, I hope you're ready. I'm ready. Carolyn's ready. Let's meet our dreamer and doer. Her name is Dr. Beth Brown.
Dr. Beth Brown is a lifelong educator on a mission to inspire families and kids to have fun, be more active, and learn life lessons through sports in her children's book series, Adventures with Divot and Swish. After picking up basketball at the age of 2 and swinging her first golf club at the age of 8, Beth was hooked on sports. Her youth sport participation paved the way for her collegiate success as a member of the University of Oklahoma's basketball and conference champion women's golf teams. As her love for sports continued, she realized the unique opportunity sport has to impact not only physical abilities, but life skill development as well. Led Beth to earn her Ph.D. in sports psychology at the University of Kansas, and since then, she's gone on to influence and impact thousands through her roles as a golf coach and educational program developer at First Tee, LGPA USGA Girls Golf, and founder and owner of the consulting company Team Aureus. Beth's first title, Adventures with Divot and Swish in Costa Rica, The Superpower of Courage, is a colorful children's book chronicling the adventures of the title characters as they muster up courage to surf in the ocean and not fall off their boards. When she's not writing the next adventures of Divot and Swish, Beth enjoys cheering on her beloved Sooners, riding her bike, and spending time with family, friends, and puppy Truman. She is an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation and lives in Norman, Oklahoma. Hi, Beth.
Hello, Michael. Hello, Carolyn. Hi from me at Divot and Swish.
All right. Great to see you. How are you today?
I am awesome. I'm awesome. Thank you. How are y'all doing?
Oh, thanks for asking. Better that you are on. We've been looking forward to this for a while since we had the opportunity to learn about you from the release of your first children's book, Divot and Swish, we'll get to in just a little bit. But Beth, I know you know this, that when this episode releases, we are going to be gearing up for the LoveWorks Rosser Golf Fundraising Tourney. And you are definitely no stranger to golf. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, look, I keep a golf bag and golf clubs in my office. I am ready. Yeah, definitely love golf and love the game and all it's done for me.
Now, is it true? Now, I would be careful, but is it true? And you're wondering, where's Michael going to go with this? I heard a little story around the age of 11 or 12 years old Is it true that you would start out in the morning and you would golf 9 holes, and then you would go to work at Dairy Queen, and then after work you would finish and you would golf another 9?
That's absolutely true. Yeah, actually it was 9 or 18. Often it was 18 in the morning and 18 in the afternoon, but a good 27 to 36 holes with 11:30 to 3:30 at my dad's Dairy Queen in between, making minimum wage. But I made the best blizzards. People came from all around town. We were right on the interstate I-40 in Salis, Oklahoma, and those people didn't know, but they would come in and bet. They're like, how old is this little girl working here? They were literally betting. If I was out cleaning tables, we're betting. Our family wants to know how old you are. I was 12.
Wow.
So
Unreal. I love it. I love it. And so, and you also then you won the Big 8, which is now the Big 12, right? Women's golf tournament championship.
We did. Our team won the conference championship, which was a big deal that year. We beat the Oklahoma State Cowgirls. They were always usually beating us. And actually, my coach, Dr. Carol Livingston, now she's one of the athletic directors here at the University of Oklahoma.
Wow. Well, I know you. So we need to get into our first question, but our golfers that are listening and hopefully aspiring students that want to golf are leaning in, wondering, I'm getting ready to golf. Could you give me one tip, just one hack? Beth, any tip that you'd like to pass along?
That magic, everybody wants that magic bullet. I will say this, and it's going to sound really simple, right? So think of any other activity or sport that you do, right? And so, like Michael, is there another activity or sport you played growing up, or maybe your kids play?
Yeah, soccer, and I'm a hobbyist of triathlon.
Okay. So I'll go with the soccer. So if you think of any other sport we do, generally we're focused on our target, right? We're looking where we want to go. But in golf, the ball is down. So if I'm kicking a soccer ball, I mean, I practice enough, my foot's going to hit the ball, right? I'm looking where I want to I'm not a soccer player, so forgive me if I use the wrong terms, where I'm going to kick it to one of my teammates, or if I'm going to kick it in the goal, like I'm looking where I want it to go, right? Mm-hmm. Just like if I have an iPhone and I'm taking a picture, I point it, I want a picture of Michael or Carolyn, right? And so in golf, for some reason, golfers starting new or adults, we make our target the golf ball. It's on the ground, and we focus on that, and so we swing in a motion to hit that ball. So we tend to make not very good swings because we're hitting at a ball on the ground. Well, I'll tell you, it's not going anywhere. So if you make your focus the target, which is out there somewhere, it changes the motion of your body in your swing. So with that in mind, right, just like with the iPhone, point it, focus on where you want to hit. Again, your eyes are going to be down when you swing, but if you could stare at your target, take a really good picture of that, and then just glance down at the ball and make your swing instead of standing over it for like a minute or two and getting tense. So stare at the target, glance at the ball. So more target, less ball. Your swing will change, I promise you.
I feel like I just sat in a golf lesson.
Yeah. I'll send you the invoice after, nonprofit rate.
I love it. I was about to say, I feel like we could even turn that into a life lesson of some sort. You know, you're focusing too much on the ball, not the actual goal. Love that. And so, Beth, we're really excited about today and just getting to interview you. We know that you're a dreamer and a doer, someone who, of course, has dreamt big, but also gone to pursue it. But we know most people don't naturally do both, but they have a natural lean towards one or the other. What about for you?
Yeah, you know, I actually had to think about this. I'm glad I knew at least this question beforehand, because I do think I do both. But just when I'm most excited and most joyful, you're probably already guessing, I'm a natural dreamer. Naturally just vision out there, future focused. And I have to remind myself and give other people permission to remind me that I need to come back to the present. And not that I'm good at making the to-do list or the goals and things to get there, but then I just tend to get too far out there. Which again is great when you're coming up with the original ideas, but I need to come back to the present, this moment. And the reason that's so important to me is because sometimes I can stay so focused on the future and the vision and the dream that I don't enjoy the moment or the present or the doing. So it's not that I'm not good at it. I might be doing it. I'm doing, but I'm not enjoying and having gratitude around that moment, whether it's challenging or whether it's super fun, but just really, I'm like, if I can't enjoy doing this, I shouldn't be doing it. And so I tend to not enjoy it as much when I'm so focused on the vision all the time.
That's great, Beth. That's powerful reminder on that side of it, because I've been actually thinking about it on the opposite side of the spectrum of getting, and I wouldn't call myself a natural doer, but can find myself getting caught up in the day-to-day, in the doing and the action, that sometimes I find myself not taking enough time to step back and to dream and to relax and to refresh, to retreat. So I love how you give us the other end of that as well too, on the side of the dreaming to the action. Beth, we'd love for you to take us back, if you wouldn't mind, a few years, and we want to get to know you just a little bit more. So can you talk with us just about the young dreamer and what life was like for you growing up?
Absolutely. And you, I think, alluded to it a little bit in your question about the Dairy Queen. So kind of taking you back, I grew up in Eastern Oklahoma. And for those who, if when I say this, you'll know it, I mean, I consider myself to be a small town Oklahoma girl, right? Eastern Oklahoma. For those who don't know, talk to someone who does know, because it takes too long to explain. And yeah, just a small town, Sequoyah County, Eastern Oklahoma. Grew up in Sallisaw. Ended up going to high school at Muldrow, right there, so in and around Sequoyah County. If you can imagine, in the old days, my dad was a high school basketball coach, and the high school coaches were a big deal. And so I was a little girl just doing everything with my dad. So actually starting in first grade, I would actually ride the school bus from my elementary school to the high school and hang out with my dad. The high school team would be practicing. I'd be in the back gym. He had made a lower goal before they had the adjustable goals, where I learned how to shoot and things. And so really just going to school, going to the gym after school. And then Sunday, it was like church every Sunday, and every Sunday night, that was our night to eat out. Myself and my brothers, my mom and dad, we got to eat out at my dad's Dairy Queen, where I ended up working when I was 12. So it was a good life. And I will say, you know, there wasn't a lot of things to do, but my parents really, I'm so thankful they exposed me to as many things as they could. So I was doing a lot of different things that kids didn't get to do then. I mean, I was, you know, playing the piano, taking art lessons, you know, got exposed to some different sports, softball and golf, as well as basketball, of course. But it was a good time. And I actually learned a lot those hours I worked at the Dairy Queen, for sure.
I love that. I must imagine you must have developed an incredible work ethic going from, you know, golf out to Dairy Queen, back to golf, perfecting your game and just perfecting. I mean, even beyond that, we've talked about, of course, like sports is just not the physical, but also the life lesson side of things. And so we know you were really big into sports and youth participation. You just named a few there, but tell us, how did this pave the way for you into the next part of your life and going into college?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think growing up, you know, with playing, you know, basketball basically during the school year and golf in the summer and some of the other things, I had some great opportunities. You know, actually had the opportunity to choose between playing basketball and or golf in college, and ended up, there was a circuitous route there, but ended up transferring. I went to New Mexico State first on a golf and academic scholarship, came back to University of Oklahoma, where I sat on the bench one year in basketball and learned some hard lessons that year, and then had the great opportunity to be a scholarship athlete on the golf team my last 2 years. And those lessons, I do say, and I think I've even written somewhere that Coach Carol, as I called her at the time, taught me a lot, that, you know, you always look back and realize what you actually learn. And so looking back, she was really instrumental in understanding this idea of how important it is that you really value the person first, right? And that all the things about the person as a whole is so much more important than the actual sport or activity that we're engaging in. And if you can do that, if you can build that relationship with a person or with people, and that they know you really care about them first, you know, then you can begin to engage and try to help them with some growth and development, help them improve in their skills. And so I think Carol really paved the way for me to pursue my career in sports psychology and education, and a lot of things I've done since.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. Well, we often say here, even just on the show, that, no great dreams, are achieved, by ourselves. It definitely requires help and guides and mentors along the way. Beth, I was curious about something. You mentioned the wavering between basketball and golf. Growing up, I didn't waver in the sport that I thought I was meant to play. I played a few different sports, but really at the end of the day, my first memory as a kid is wearing a baseball glove on my left hand. And so I really thought that was going to be the plan A, eventually sign a professional major league contract, and I would be set for life. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I'm curious, and just thinking about today's student that either has like the plan A, the one sport that they think they're going to go on to play professionally, or the one that dabbles in a few, or several. How did you make that decision? Basketball over golf, golf over basketball, and maybe what advice would you have, for a student that might be wrestling with that kind of decision?
Yeah, I'll say there's two parts to that question. How did I make the decision? I don't know if I did it the best way. There was a lot of dynamics going on in my family and stuff that probably affected a lot of things I did. But I always say I think everything worked out for the best. In my life, I'm definitely, I think, me ending up primarily playing golf has, it's been a large part of the friendships I've made. It's been a large part of getting to travel and see the world. It's been a large part of just really everything that I get to do as a human being and open lots of doors. But I think my story is less important than probably what I've learned overall in terms of what we know about kids and what we know about youth development, and that we know that encouraging kids and encouraging families to expose kids to a wide variety of activities. Now, it doesn't mean you do them all at once, right? And that you're pulling your hairs on fire and you're doing something every single day, which I know, a lot of my friends, I won't say names, and family members, we see that happening. But, within reason, and allow kids to explore, allow them to try a variety of things. One, because we know that that's how kids find their passion or their spark, and then two, because if by chance they are going to be one of those people who play in college, or the 2% or less that play professional sports, those sorts of things, if it's even that, I may have my stats wrong, but it's such a small percentage. But if they are going to play at those levels, we know that the majority of those kind of athletes, even Olympic athletes, that they sampled sports and sampled activities when they were young. So if you want your kids to find their passion, let them try a lot of different things, not necessarily all at once. And if you want them to be the best they can be, and if it means playing at elite levels, we know they need to have a lot of different activities in sports so they can develop skills and not have long-term chronic injuries and burnout. So there's two really good reasons to try a lot of different things.
That's great. Beth, and Carolyn, why didn't I have access to this kind of information growing up a few years ago when I was in middle school or high school?
I think it's honestly new information that we're learning about, the effects of these things and how to combat, and especially even the mental health side, I would think. And so Beth, you are going, of course, so much of your life has to do with sports. Where did the idea of a book come in?
Oh, that's a great question, Carolyn. And often people are like, where did this happen? And so I'll just start I'm going to kind of take leaps across a few decades here. But as a kid, I grew up, I was riding my bicycle. This was before the Dairy Queen, 8 years old, riding my bicycle across town, going to the library reading. So I was a prolific reader. And then in the afternoon, this is in the summer, I would go to the pool. So I was doing a lot of sports activities, but there was always reading. And then the writing started coming in. I had a 7th grade teacher, Mrs. Riggs. She taught English. She turned me on to writing, and I loved writing. That's not riding a bike, but writing, like pencils or iPads. And so I loved reading and writing. And then even into college at OU, I got accepted into a special poetry writing class. We had a visiting professor from Brown University, and it was the poetry writing class. So I wrote a lot of poetry. And so writing and reading was always a big part of my life. And so that's just not something so let's start with that. And so then if you fast forward, I had some different opportunities, met different people. One in particular, a man named Michael Murphy, who's written books, among others, Golf in the Kingdom, The Kingdom of Chivas Irons. And He's still living. He's in his 90s, but very well known in the that out there in California. And so I talked to him. He didn't write his first book till he was 40, and I said, well, I feel like there's something inside of me like that I'm going to write, but I just don't know what it is. And I think I was starting my master's at that time, so I was about 25. And he said, yeah, just keep living your life. And when it's supposed to come out, it will. He said his first book was like giving birth to a baby. It just came out all at once. And so anyway, so fast forward to then, it was about 15 or 16 years ago. I was married at the time, and I was in a children's bookstore with my former husband, who's still a very good friend, Rudy Duran, Tiger's first coach. And we were looking, I love Dr. Seuss. And so we're looking at children's books, Dr. Seuss, and I just said, I'm going to write a children's book series one day. And he says, yeah, right. Like, what's it going to be? And I said, Adventures. I said, Adventures of Divot and Swish. And he goes, where'd that come from? I go, I don't know. And he goes, well, what did Divot and Swish look like? And I said, well, they kind of look like this. Divot's a golf ball with like some sort of skirt or skirt that's grass and has her visor and her golf shoes. And then Swish is a basketball net with a rim, and his eyes are on the net and his basketball sticking out. He has big, bright shoes. And so anyway, it took a few years, but that's that idea. I mean, people can say different things. I call it, I believe the idea came from God. I don't know exactly what all I'm doing with it yet, but yeah, it came to me, and that's what it's called today. And so there was a lot of things that happened between then and now, but all those things kind of led up to that moment when I said, yeah, this is what I'm going to do.
Wow, that is incredible, Beth. And it's a great segue in this part of the interview, and we're going to get more into the doing side and what you're doing today. And of course, the book. Those that are not watching and listening to this, I'm holding on to the book, Adventures with Divot and Swish in Costa Rica, The Superpower of Courage. I think your book is the perfect size to hold, and the illustrations are just beautiful, Beth. You've done a phenomenal job. There's other curiosity too, just about your book, and Beth, it's from one of our students. And so now we're going to turn to an audio question that some of our students ask through our website. And so Beth, if you're ready, 8-year-old Lily has a question for you today.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Lily, and I am 8 years old. My dream is to be an artist. My question for Dr. Beth is, if you had a third character, what sport would it be inspired by?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lily. I love that. And I love your dream to be an artist. And if you need me to put you in touch with Charlotte Strickland, my artist and illustrator, she lives in Oklahoma City. So maybe reach back out through Michael or someone else at LoveWorks. But your question is awesome. I've never been asked that question. Let's see. What would the third character be? What sport would the third character be inspired by? Let's see. Well, I love basketball and golf growing up. But you know what I've gotten into as an adult? Biking. Like, I ride my road bike and mountain bike, Lily. So I have no doubt if there were a third character, we'd have to think about what that character would look like, but it would definitely be inspired by bicycling.
Oh, I love that. Out of curiosity, Beth, what is the furthest that you've cycled or you rid your bike?
Oh, well, actually, in recent years, I rode it 200 miles in one day for a very big birthday that ended with a 0. 5 friends and I rode from Brookhaven over here in Lawrence, on the north side of Lawrence, to just shy of Wichita, Kansas.
So at the age of 20 years old, you rode your bike 200 miles.
20 plus a few decades, yes. 200 miles in one day. So.
Listeners, if you could only just see, and on YouTube you can, Carolyn's jaw that just dropped when she heard 200 miles.
Yeah.
I've heard of these like 100-mile bike rides, which is already amazing in itself. I'm like 8 hours on a bike, but 200. 200
miles, yes. Lots of training and lots of downwind. We definitely took a south wind that day, and great friends to ride with. And then, of course, you have to have the sag wagon, which means support and gear for those who don't know, who aren't cyclists. And my friend that we talked into being the sag wagon, she didn't know what it was, and she was telling people at her office, she goes, yeah, I'm going to go drive a truck this weekend and take food and drinks. I'm going to be the swag wagon.
Oh my
So
word.
now we all call it the swag wagon. Ever since then, it's the swag wagon. That sounds way more fun than being the sag wagon. But yeah, it was a great adventure for sure.
That is a venture. I would imagine it took you a little bit of time to ride 200 miles. Dr. Beth, I know that we have some listeners right now that have a desire perhaps to write a book or to write something. Let's talk about just the process, of putting pen to paper. So can you tell us about the process and what finally, kind of led you to write like the first book in this series? And did you encounter any obstacles along the way?
Yes, yes, and yes. Yeah, the short version of what inspired me to finally write it, and you can read, there's actually a blog on the website on divotswish.com, but it was actually a lady named Jill Donovan, who's based out of Tulsa. She's the founder of Rustic Cuff. For those who don't know, a fantastic story she has as well. And she was speaking at a women's leadership luncheon here in Norman, Oklahoma, and she told her story of starting that company. And so it was just the right person at the right time saying the right thing. It's kind of like for those people who go to church, maybe it's only me, occasionally I'm listening to a sermon and I'm looking around like, okay, he or she is talking to me, like he's looking at me, she's looking at me, like this is for me. That's how I felt that day with Jill Donovan. And so with that said, then that was really the thing that put me over the edge to start writing. And then I don't think, as I'm learning as we go, right? This has just been, that happened in September of 2019. I started writing. I set aside 4 days in October of 2019. And again, this is probably not traditional. The first day I sat down to write, 4 hours later, I had the book, I had it written. And so like Michael Murphy said, it just came out. And so I've learned a lot, and that's probably, I don't know if that's how the next one's going to go, but basically I wrote a draft that day, and just like Jill Donovan said, it was step by step by step. I had no clue what I was doing every single step. There was a lot of prayer, a lot of talking to people. It's amazing when you start putting out there and asking people for help. The people that showed up and started giving me advice, and then now you have to sift through the advice. But basically, in the process, then that's how it started. And just to be a little succinct here, I can circle back if you have questions. But it was, I wrote it, and then there was the process of getting the illustrator. That was a big step, and found Charlotte in Oklahoma City, and she's just incredible, Charlotte Strickland. And then there's the process of the graphic design. Like I didn't really know that. I thought, well, there's the art, and then you get it printed or something, right? But there's actually, you got the words, you have the art, and then you have to have somebody who's super talented to put it all together to make this cover. How does it get laid out? What's the font? All those things. And then of course there's the printing and publishing of it. And, do you self-publish? Do you try to get a publisher? And I ran the gamut of things. It took me that was October of 2019, and the book just came out in January 2021. So my pace of play, as we'd say in golf, was quite slow, but there was a lot of learning, and there was a lot of other things that happened in there as people have started asking me, like, how do you go about it? What do you do? And I feel very ill-equipped to share, because as I'm learning what other people do, I probably didn't do it the way that's optimal. So there'll be a few things that I did before, and probably a lot of things I do differently that hopefully will speed up the process, that can take a 15 or 16 month process and turn it into, a 9 or 10 month process. But it's been really fun learning, and I'm still learning. As right now, got ebooks coming out, other products and things like that. So it's just a perpetual learning, continuous learning journey.
I love it. It's all flowing together. I love that, just hearing just the journey and the commitment and the vision, even starting from a really young age of falling in love with writing itself to now you have this finished product. And Beth, it feels so obvious from you talking about golf to even basketball to, of course, the books. You have such passion and such energy behind it. And so I wanted to ask, like, what is it that you love about what you get to do?
Wow, I actually had one of the students ask me that the other day, and what I love most is getting to interact honestly with the kids. You all are close to that. So getting to really interact and engage with people. So the virtual book reading adventures have been great. Start to do a few in-person things. I'm going to a school, 120 second graders on Monday. They'll be all spread out in a gym, and I'll be away from them, I'm told. And so just getting that interaction, starting to get some interaction to be able to talk with parents and coaches and educators and school teachers, around how Adventures with Divot and Swish can help learning, whether it's through art, through physical activity, through sports and things like that, has been really fun. So just really, I guess, in summary, Carolyn, the most fun, aside from the direct interaction with people, is really having a platform through Divot and Swish to do what I've set out to do, which is to inspire families and kids to have fun, to become more active, and to learn those life lessons through sports.
Well, you are certainly making an impact in many different ways, Beth. And you've already touched on a few things here, but a question we do like to ask our Dreamer and Doer guest, and you've already mentioned a few things, but is there a dream right now, and it could be this book, this adventure series, that you are working on and that you're really, really excited and passionate about?
Yes, and it absolutely does have to do with Adventures with Divot and Swish. My big dream is that Adventures with Divot and Swish becomes a cartoon series, because again, with the goal of just getting it out there to as many people, and so that's the big dream. And then the other part of it too is obviously starting the second book in the series next month, and hopefully coming to everyone by the holidays, which I missed last year. So hoping to hit the holiday season with my expedited time frame this year.
Oh, very cool. And hopefully we'll get to maybe meet a third character in that as well. Good question, Lily. No, I dig it. And I love just hearing even a vision for, I'm like, do we know anyone at Pixar? That'd be super cool. to get a little cartoon series out there. Well, Beth, this is a question I love to ask, because I know there's a lot of middle school students listening right now. In particular, I know I speak to so many who have a dream of becoming an author one day. And so I wanted to ask if you could speak to your middle school self or your high school self. What's a piece of advice that you would want to share?
I love that question. I have to think about this quite a bit because it's been a while, but I think the first part of my answer, Carolyn, I've alluded to, and that's this idea of finding your passion. So kind of like Divot and Swish had to have courage to try surfing, which, by the way, that was my surfing lesson in Costa Rica. And so I had to have courage to do that. But yeah, so to explore and to try a lot of different things, especially early on. And even if don't just try it once, try it a few times. Like commit to a season of something, or commit to a few lessons of something, or commit to going out and doing skateboarding, whatever it is, a few times with your friends. Do it more than once. And if you can approach things, the second part of the advice to my middle school self and to the middle schoolers out there is this idea of you're going to mess up. Be okay with messing up, because if you think of it, a lot of times you think of losing or failing as losing, and I like to think of failing or falling as learning. So if we look at falling or failing as learning, it's about learning, it's about improving, it's about growing. And I was thinking of one of the things, I became a much better golfer after college because I wasn't afraid to practice a lot of different shots around the green. This is for those golfers listening again, right? Throw balls down and hit all kinds of shots around the green with different clubs. That was, putting with your hybrid, or just all kinds of crazy shots. But I didn't practice those shots when I was younger because I was thinking that the people walking around the golf course would see me sculling over the green. And because I messed up, then I was a bad golfer. Like I was actually worried about what they were thinking, like that I was going to hit a bad shot. And so if I had had that mentality when I was in middle school and even high school, that, hey, try different things, try different shots in golf. Losing isn't failure, losing is learning. Losing is improving. If I had that mentality, I don't know. I actually think I could have been better at a lot of things than what I was or am.
Wow. And that's saying a lot, considering, Beth, all of you have a lot of accomplishment. So that's a big statement, but I believe a lot of truth that you just shared. Beth, before we get into our last question, just something popped into my head that I wanted to ask you. You started we haven't even touched so much that we could touch on. So we need to do this in a part 2 with Dr. Beth Brown. But I was thinking about just your consulting agency. So with Team Arias, and so you're working with high performers, yet you have this dream to write a children's book. And I'm just curious what others around you thought of the dream, and maybe they were 100% supportive, or was there perhaps something that you had to work through there? And that question is just, and where this question is coming from, is that, we work with a lot of students here at LoveWorks, and, sometimes students are a little apprehensive to share their dream because they may not have a supportive, mom or dad or even friends. So I'm just curious, is that something that you encountered?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, Michael. Let's just say that people I shared what I was going to do with, there was no in between. Either people were super encouraging, or they're like, you're out of your mind, or even if you do it, it doesn't mean you're going to sell a lot of books or you're going to be successful or this or that. But I think that I am in a different spot than I was when I was the kid afraid to try different shots around the green because I was worried what somebody would think when they walked by. So I guess I'm taking some of my own advice, right? Is that, I had this passion, I had this dream, and I just chose to listen to the people that were encouraging. And I didn't talk anymore about it to the people that weren't.
That's good advice right there.
That is well said, punctuated, and a mic drop moment there. We've had more than a few mic drop moments already with you, Beth, but we always love to close out our interview leaving you with the last voice and giving you 60 seconds to share whatever is on your heart to be able to encourage the dreamer or the doer that is listening. So, Beth, are you ready?
I think so. I just got chills. I don't know what I'm going to say, but we'll see.
It's going to encourage somebody. So whenever you're ready, set, go.
Yeah, I would just leave you all with this, is that, play to your strengths. If you're a dreamer, dream. If you're a doer, do. But add to that, some focus on that other area. Like I talked about, I need to focus on bringing myself back to the present. Michael mentioned he's got to let himself go to the future, right? So we need all of that. We need that diversity in the way that we live and the way we act. And so I just leave you with that. I have this quote that I did want to share that I think kind of sums everything up. And I mentioned Dr. Seuss has been a lot of my motivation, as a writer and children's book author. And I love the book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. So this is for the dreamers and the doers. And the quote is, "You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way." And I'll say it's never too late. Hey, I wrote my first children's book, thank God, at a later age. And so it's just never, never too late. So get on your way.
Oh, I love it, Beth. We are big fans of Dr. Seuss as well, especially the book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. It is a favorite around here. And so thank you for just speaking into the hearts of all of our listeners, no matter the age, to go after their dreams, to try different things, find their passions, and to do it more than once. You guys. I think that's another huge part, and to commit to it. And so, Beth, thank you so much. I think this has been so encouraging to our students, to our families, and to our golfers that are listening as well. So thank you so much for your time and sharing about Divot Swish and all the good wisdom you have.
Thank you so much. It's just been an honor to be on your Dreamers and Doers podcast, Michael and Caroline.
Oh, well, the honor is all ours, Beth. Speaking of the places that we'll go, where can we go? Where can our listeners go to find more about you, perhaps your consulting agency, and of course, the book that I'm holding in my hand, Adventures with Divot and Swish?
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Well, for those who are most interested in Adventures with Divot and Swish, you can definitely go to the website. The URL is adventureswithdivotandSwish.com. If you just type in Divot and Swish, it'll take you there. You can also follow Divot and Swish on Facebook and Instagram, and that's Adventures with Divot and Swish. And then for those who are more interested in the coaching, individual high performance coaching, and you don't have to think of high performance as, again, as your own gold standard performance. That's what Team Arias means, your own gold standard. That's my consulting coaching business. You can check that out at teamarias.com.
Wow. Well, all that will be included in the show notes. Beth, again, we want to thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor. Thank you so much for making us better today.
Yeah, thank you all so much. It's been just a pleasure. And thanks to Divot Swish in the background.
Yay.
We'll see you, Beth. Thank you.
Okay, have a great day.
You too. Well, Carolyn, a pun is intended right here, but right out of the tee box. For listeners, I'm my right out of the tee box. God is visualizing. I love the picture of just. Didn't you love that?
I love
Because
that.
I don't know how many times you swing your golf club, but I did the opposite of what Beth was instructing. So
No,
that's
it's
going to be
way
Yeah,
too
that's
focused on like just not swinging and missing, right? But that's not the
yeah,
point.
that's going to be a game changer, not just in golf, but in other aspects in life and leadership for sure.
For sure. Well, we're excited. Thanks for listening to another one of our podcasts and inspirational stories. And we just want to let you know, don't forget to visit loveworksleadership.org to learn more about us, find more digital resources, and you can even reach out to us and let us know, is there a dreamer or a doer out there that we should be interviewing? We love getting to meet new people.
Yes, and remember, everybody, that real leaders, they don't blend in, but they stand out.
Dream big.
And do your dream. Bye, everybody.